Hello, learners. You are warmly welcome to Joy Learning Basic Classroom. I am Emmanuel Eduquesi, your facilitator for today's maths lesson for Basic 5. Mathematics lesson for Basic 5. You can as well follow us on our YouTube channel at Joy Learning TV. You can follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Joy Learning TV. Today, we are going to talk about numbers and numerals. Numbers and numerals. We are going to continue our lesson from where we ended in our previous lesson. But before we move on, let us do a quick starter. As we are doing counting, we are going to count today as well. And in our counting, we are going to count in tens. We are going to count in tens. We are going to count up to 100. But in our counting, we are going to skip counting in tens, beginning from 0 up to 100. Let us begin, learners. So first we have 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. Very good. I hope you had all very well. Good. So as I said, we are treating numbers and numerals. And under numbers and numerals, we are going to do counting and representing whole numbers. Counting and representing or representation of whole numbers. That is what we are going to do for today as well. And then we are saying that at the end of our lesson, we'll be able to understand and demonstrate some quantities using the place value chart as well as using the multi-base block. And in our counting, we are going to count up to millions. We are going to count up to millions. That is going to be our task for today. And I believe at the end, you will enjoy and you'll find that our lesson has been so interesting. We are going to do a lot of activities for this lesson. Good. So previously, in our previous lesson, we said that we count right from ones. We count from ones. So from ones, what is the next stage of counting? From ones, I believe you are saying tens. Good. So from ones, we move on to tens. From tens, we move to hundreds. Then from hundreds, we move to thousands. Then from thousands, we move to tens of thousands. Tens of thousands. Then from tens of thousands, we move to hundreds of thousands, and then we will end on millions. We end on millions. That is going to be, or that's where we are going to count up to at our level. We begin from ones, tens, hundreds, then move on to thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and then million. That is the counting or the stages of counting. Good. Now, with this, we are also going to use what we call the multi-base block to represent counting. Good. So we have in the multi-base block, first we have the small cube over there. Then apart from the cube, we have what we call the long, also there, or the rod. It is sometimes called rod or long. So we have it over there. And then we have what we call the flats as well. And then from the flats, we move on to the block. So first, we have the cube. We have the rod or the long. Then we have our flats. And then lastly, we have our block. So these particular instruments or these particular materials are what we call the multi-base block. We have the cube, which sometimes also called the units. We have the rod or the long, we have the flats, and then we have the block. This makes up the multi-base block. Good. So as I said, we are going to use this multi-base block to represent numbers. Right from, we can use even to represent ones, we can represent tens, we can represent this with hundreds, thousands, up to the million that we are counting up to. Good. But for the purpose of our lesson for today, we are going to associate these materials or this instrument to some counting that we are being given. So, for today, we are saying that if we see each cube or each unit, we are saying that, or it represents 1,000. Please, I am saying that each cube represents 1,000. Good. Then, each rod is being taken as 10,000. 10,000. Therefore, if we have 1 as 10,000, what is going to be 2? What will be the value for 2? And I believe you are saying that it's going to be 20,000. Very good. What about 3? 3 is going to be what? 30,000. Good. So we have our cube, which is for 1,000. Then we have our rod, which is 10,000. Then we have our flat, which represents 100,000. 100,000. If 1 is 100,000, what is going to be 2? 2 is going to be 200,000. 3 is going to be 300,000, and it goes on and on. And then for our block, we are saying that each block that we are being given represents 1 million. 1 million. So let's go over again. So first we have our cube over here, and our cube, each cube or each unit that we are being given represents 1,000. Each rod represents 10,000. Each flat represents 100,000. And then each block represents 1 million. 1 million. Very good. So let us see if we are being given, this numeral. If we are being given this numeral, and the number is 678,000. How many flats are we going to have? How many of the rod or the long are we going to have? And then how many of the units are we going to also represent to this particular numeral or this number being given to us? And the number is 678,000. 678,000. Remember that we said that each flat represents 100,000. Each rod represents 10,000. And each unit or each cube represents 1,000. If it is so, then how many of the flats are we going to have? How many of the rods or longs are we going to represent this with? And then how many of the units are we going to have? So it's being displayed nicely. So we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which represents 600,000. 600,000. Because we said that each flat is 100,000. And if we have 6, then it represents 600,000. Now, for the long or for the rod, we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. And we said that each rod is 10,000. And if there is 7, 1 is 10,000, 2 become 2,000, 20,000, sorry, 3 become 30,000, and the 7 will be 70,000. So we have our 70,000. So the value of the 7 over here is 70,000. And then, lastly, is going to be our unit. And we said each unit represents 1,000. Therefore, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Meaning that we have 8,000 for that one as well. So the representation is correct to the numeral or the number which is being given as 678,000. We are having 6 of the flats, we are having 7 of the rod, and we have 8 of the unit over there. Good. The next one is that I have given out the multi-base block. Now for this one, we have blocks there, we have flats also there, we have rod or the long there, and then we also have what they call the units also there, or the cubes over there. How many blocks do we have over there? Let us count. 1, 2, and 3. So 3 of the blocks. What about the flats? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 flats. What about the rod? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the rod, or 5 of the longs. And for the units, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8 units. We said that we have 5, or the rod or the block. Each block represents million. Each flat represents 100,000. Each rod represents 10,000, and each unit represents 1,000. If that is so, then what will be the numeral to represent this particular diagram? So we have it over there. We have it over there. Good. So we are having 3,758,000. 3,758,000. Because we have 3 of the blocks, which is 3 million, 7 of the flat, which is 700,000, 5 of the rod, which is 50,000, and then 8 of the unit, which represents 8,000. Beautiful. Good. Let us move on. So I have given you some numeral or some numbers over there. Now try as much as possible to make a simple flat, a simple rod, and a simple unit or cube to represent this number. So for the first one, we have 475,000. 475,000. And the next one is 1,546,000. 1,546,000. Let us all try and see whether our representation or our diagram will be equal to what I have also over there. Good. So for the first one, learners, we are going to have it as this. The first one is going to be this. So we have 4 of the flats, 7 of the rod, and then 5 of the units, which represents 475,000. 475,000. Good. And then the next particular one, we had 1,546,000. So over here, you will see that we have 1 of the block in there, because we said that each block represents 1 million. So we have 1 of the block, then we have 5 of the flats, 4 of the longs, and then 6 of the unit, which represents 1,546. 1,546. Good. Let us move on, learners. Now, we are going to, so this also another activity for you. Here we have 4,000 or 465,000. 465,000. And in this particular diagram, we are going to have 4 of the flats, 6 of the longs, and then 5 of the units. 4 of the flats, 6 of the longs, and then 5 of the units. And then the next number that we have over there, or the next numeral that we have over there, is 514,000. 514,000. So with this, learners, let me ask you, how many of the flats are we going to have? How many of the flats are we going to have? What about the longs? How many longs are we going to represent this with? Yes. And then how many of the units are we also going to have? So we are seeing that we have 5 of the flats, 1 long, and then 4 units. 5 flats, 1 long, and then 4 units, which will represent the numeral as 514,000. Very good. Let us all move on. Good. Now let us move on. We are saying that we are representing numbers. We are representing numbers. And in the representation of numbers, we can also use what we call notes of our currency to represent numbers. We can use notes of our currency to represent numbers. So for the purpose of our lesson, we have made a beautiful sketches of the currencies that we have. So we have our green, which represents 10 cities. 10 cities. Then we have the blue, which represents 100 cities. And then we have brown or light brown, which represents 500 cedis. 500 cedis. So when you see this particular color, or when you see the green one, you must know that it is 10 or 10 cedis. It is 10 or 10 cedis. When you see the blue, it represents 100. And when you see the light brown, it represents 500. So imagine, let's assume that you are going to purchase or buy a particular item, which you have this particular note in your hand. How many of these are you going to put together to buy that particular commodity or that particular item? That is what you are going to do. We are doing counting, representing numbers. So we are bringing a lot of things for us to understand how we can represent numbers. And one way that we can also represent numbers is using this token currency note to represent that. Good. Now, therefore, if we are going to buy something and that particular commodity costs 1,340, imagine we've gone out and we are buying a set of television. We went to the shop and the storekeeper said that the television cost 1,340. Remember, we have 500 CD notes, we have 100 CD notes, and then we have 10 CD notes. How many are we going to put together to buy this particular commodity? Good. So we are saying that because we are buying it and we have this light brown notes in our hand, we are going to put two together. And when we put two together, because one is 500, when we put two together, we are having 1,000. So the two together will represent, will represent the 1,000 over there. Now, for the hundreds, we are going to have 3 of them. We are going to have 3 of them. Because when you put 100, 3 of them together, we are having 300. So the value of the 3 over there is 300. And then remember that we also have we have green also there. And we said that each green represents 10 or 10 cedis. Therefore, if we are having the value 4 there, mean that we are going to have 4 of the 10s. 4 of the 10s. And when we put them together, we are having 40. So we have 2 of the 500. And when we put 500 together, when we put 2 together, we are getting 1,000. We have 3 of the hundreds, and then we have 4 of the tens, which represent 1,340. 1,340. Let us move on. Now, the next number which is being given to us is 2,450. 2,450. So for the 2,000, learners, how many of the 500 CD notes or how many of the brown notes are we going to put together to get our 2,000? Then how many of the blue notes? And we said that the blue note, each blue note represents 100. So how many are we going to have? And then how many of the greens are we also going to have to also represent 50 over there? So let's move on and see. So if it is 2,000 and we have a note which represents 500, then we are going to have 4 of them. We are going to have 4 of them. Because when you add one to the other, the first one is 500. When you add one 500 to it, we are getting 1,000. When we add another one to it, we are getting 1,500. And when we add another one to it, we are getting 2,000. So we have 4 of the 500 CD note, which represents the 2,000 over there. Then we also have the blue CD notes or the blue notes over there. And we are having 4 of them. And when you put these 4 together, because one represents 100, when you put the 4 together, we are getting 400. And then when we put 5 of the 10 CD notes, we are getting 50. We are getting 50. Therefore, these diagrams will represent the numeral which has been given as 2,450. 2,450. So for the 2,000, We have 4 of the 500 cedi notes, which has been designed in a light brown color. Then we have 4 of the hundreds, which has been designed in a blue color. And then we have our 5 of the greens. And we are seeing that one of the green notes is 10 cedis or 10. And when you put the 5 together, we are getting 50. So we are having 2,450. Let's good. Very good. So that is where we bring our lesson to. And I believe and understand, or I believe and hope that what we did, you understood and you enjoyed this lesson very well. Good. So for the summary, what we did was that we represented numbers using the multi-base block, and then we also used some currency notes to represent numerals. We drew the green color, which was 10 cedis, then we had the blue, which was 100 cedis, and then we had the light brown, which was 500 cedis. Good. So, learners, we have our assessment task or a try work for you. And in the try work, what you are going to use that you are going to use this notes or this self-made currency note to represent the numbers which has been displayed on your screen. So the first one is 3,760. 3,760. The next one is 1,390. 1,390. And the last one, learners, is 5,270. So for each of these tasks being given to you, how many of the notes or how many of the 500 cedi notes are we going to have? How many of the 100 cedi notes are we going to represent? And then how many of the 10 cedi notes are we going to have over there? I hope you enjoyed these lessons very well. Now, in this particular task, you are required to answer them nicely and then mail to us on the email address which is being displayed on your screen. Do it nicely, and then you can mail this, or you can mail your answers to us to the email address which is being displayed on your screen. Learners, we have brought our lesson to an end. You can as well subscribe and follow us on our YouTube channel at Joy Learning TV. At Joy Learning TV. I am Emmanuel Eduquesi, your facilitator for your maths lesson. Bye-bye.